The Adeptus Mechanicus, also formerly known as the Mechanicum, is a technological organization often known as the priesthood of Mars. It holds a monopoly on technological knowledge in the Imperium. Their forge worlds turn out the Imperium's most powerful and advanced weaponry and equipment. The organization's adepts, the tech priests, are vital in maintaining much of the Imperium's more technologically advanced equipment, not the least of which is the Emperor's life-sustaining Golden Throne. The Adeptus Mechanicus is internally organized along a feudal structure, with lesser domains owing allegiance to major forge worlds, who in turn have sworn fealty to the Fabricator General of Mars. This feudal hierarchy extends to their military forces, with each forge world being responsible for raising and maintaining their own forces for the service of the greater Mechanicum. Many forge worlds oversee their own petty empires. Lingua Technis or Technolingua is the official language of the Adeptus Mechanicus and part of the collective Cant Mechanicus. It is a binary language, optimized for quick communication of technical data, which consists of a burst of static emitted through the bionic implants of members of the Mechanicum, which cannot be understood by unaugmented humans. While the Adeptus Mechanicus is a part of the Imperium, it has developed separately and enjoys a considerable degree of independence. Due to the great amount of power it wields, the Adeptus Mechanicus could almost be compared to be like an allied empire, rather than an organization within the Imperium. The Adeptus Mechanicus also follows a different religion from the rest of the Imperium. The religion and religious structure of the Adeptus Mechanicus is known as the Cult Mechanicus. The symbol of the Adeptus Mechanicus is a skull, half bone and half machine, set against the background of a black and white cog. Adepts of the Adeptus Mechanicus are known as tech priests. Any member of the Cult Mechanicus over the rank of menial will often be referred to as a tech priest, though Magi and higher ranks are usually referred to by rank. As befits the religious nature of the Mechanicus, tech priests usually wear robes, which are usually either rust red or white. Tech priests are often cybernetically augmented. The level of a tech priest's augmentation is highly dependent on his rank within the Cult Mechanicus. A novice may have only one or two augmented systems, if any, while very senior members may have only a few biological organs left in their bodies. Members of the Mechanicum are often fast-grown in vats, infused with an instinctual level of knowledge due to data uplinks during their gestation. They are then born post-adolescence and promptly put to work. Members can also come from Imperials who have been converted by the sect Missionarius Mechanicus and even the squatobhuman subspecies. Early history. The birthplace of the Martian Mechanicum was the ancient forge world Mars. Mars was colonized early in human history and developed separately from Terra, both culturally and technologically. The arid surface of Mars was terraformed, and under a man-made atmosphere the colony flourished. During the Dark Age of technology, the two empires of Terra and Mars coexisted, to the mutual benefit of both. At the height of its splendor during the Golden Age, and even later in the Anarchic Age of Strife, Mars dispatched hundreds of colony fleets into the void. Many perished in the terrible warp storms that engulfed the galaxy at that time, but others survived. Those that did founded new worlds in the name of the machine god, building on them a likeness of the great factories and temples of their distant home world. The Age of Strife brought an end to the glory and peace of the human domains. Across the galaxy mankind suddenly turned upon itself as a new breed of warp-attuned humans emerged. Civil war engulfed thousands of human worlds, including the twin empires of Terra and Mars. Because of a lack of maintenance during this time, Mars's atmospheric radiation shield soon disintegrated, allowing deadly solar radiation to destroy the fragile ecosystem and wipe out sparse vegetation that had taken millennia to cultivate. Mars returned to being the red wasteland of the past. Plagues caused by high radiation levels slew most of the population. Many of the survivors devolved into mutants or gibbering cannibals. The destruction of the entire planet seemed likely. However, this was not to be, for a new idea began to spread among the people, a religion of survival, the Cult Mechanicus dedicated to the machine god. The religious devotees sought out the now scattered technology needed to rebuild temporary radiation shelters. The cult demanded absolute devotion from its followers, for only by selfless dedication and often personal sacrifice could machines be recovered or the planet saved. Under the direction of their tech priest leaders, the cultists set about restoring order to the world. They built shelters to protect themselves from the radiation storms, and oxygen generators and food processing machines to enable them to live behind the enclosed shielding. There were few shelters even for the tech priests and none for unbelievers. Marauders and mutant raiders tried to force their way inside the hurriedly constructed buildings. Many of the cultists died defending their shelters, and some early shelters were destroyed, but the survivors emerged all the stronger and more determined. The people interpreted their survival in the face of tremendous odds as vindication of the cult Mechanicus. Their resolve and devotion to the cult became unshakable. While rival warlords battled over the remnants of Terra, the tech priests built Mars anew, and the first temples of the machine god were built. The tech priests scoured the ruins of Mars for surviving machinery, which they enshrined within the Temple of All Knowledge. Within the temple's plasteel shell, shining pistons held the vaulted roof almost a mile above. The shafts of each piston were so constructed that they moved to raise and lower the roof, altering its acoustic properties to accentuate the hymns of praise sung to the machine god. The high altar within took the form of a vast database containing the whole knowledge of the tech priests. Even today, every new discovery is dedicated to this altar. Every temple on Mars and throughout the Forge worlds is connected to the high altar by means of a living transmat link, a psychic servitor whose mind co-joins all altars of the cult Mechanicus into one holy machine entity. Now unified under the cult Mechanicus, the priesthood of Mars began to dispatch explorator fleets across the galaxy, and even plundered the surface of war-torn Terra itself in hopes of discovering lost technologies. Facing resistance to their quest on the planet's surface, the Adeptus Mechanicus soon became bitter enemies with the techno-barbarians which plagued Terra, and thus welcomed the eventual arrival of the Emperor. Union with the Imperium. After the Emperor formed the Imperium, he engendered support with the Martian Mechanicum, an already existing empire. On Mars, he was commonly seen as the Omnissiah, the earthly representative of the machine god, due to his ability to seemingly instantly repair machinery with a mere touch. After landing in a golden ship on Mars' surface, the Emperor came before the Mechanicum Parliament on Mars, pledging that in return for supplying arms to his armies and building a mighty war fleet, the Emperor would protect and respect the sovereignty of the Mechanicum's Forge worlds. In addition, he would donate 6 navigator houses to Mars, whose supply of navigators had since dwindled. Given such incentives, the Martian Parliament and Fabricator General agreed to the terms, and the formal alliance between the Adeptus Mechanicus and Imperium was signed on Terra between the Martian ambassador and the Emperor. However, the treaty was not celebrated by all of the tech priest elements on Mars. Many tech priests saw the Emperor as a warlord seeking to subordinate the Mechanicum and limit their technological research. Among these was Kelbahal. Horus Heresy. During the Horus Heresy, the Mechanicum, like most other branches of the imperial military, found itself divided in loyalty. Many Mechanicum units declared for the Warmaster Horus, some retained their loyalty to the Imperium, and some seceded altogether to remain neutral during the conflict. Horus was able to convince the Fabricator General himself, Kelbahal, to join forces with him on the condition that the autonomy of the Mechanicum be ensured, and that the STCs the Sons of Horus had captured from the recently subjugated, but technologically advanced Oretian technocracy be handed over to him. Kelbahal's deputy, the Fabricator Locum Kane, remained loyal to the Emperor however, which initiated a civil war on the red planet known as the Schism of Mars that mirrored the larger conflict raging across the galaxy. The Mechanicum considered the division of the Mechanicum, with Hal and Kane both claiming the title of Fabricator General, an unresolved equation known as the binary succession. In an attempt to resolve this, Ambassador Vethril, Fabricator General Kane's representative on the Council of Terra, proposed to resolve this by the creation of a new Adeptus, the Adeptus Mechanicus. Despite the Mechanicum's concerns for their independence and the Council's fears of a Martian power grab, the resolution passed after the Collegia Titanica threatened to abandon the Solar War, and the Primaris Titan Magnificum Incendius of the Legio Ignatum marched on the Great Chamber of the Senatorum Imperialis. The Mechanicum units that fought against the Emperor would come to be known in later times as the Dark Mechanicum. Post-Heresy. In the last 10,000 years since the Great Heresy, the Adeptus Mechanicus has become fanatically ingrained in the dogma of the cult Mechanicus. As their forge worlds supply mankind with vital weaponry and technology, the Adeptus Mechanicus continues their quest for knowledge and vigorously hunt for remains of precious SDCs. Major conflicts over the tenets of the cult Mechanicus have plagued the Adeptus Mechanicus, most notable of which include the Moirai Schism, Martian Civil War, and Elucidon Schism. However, over the millennia, the ability of the Adeptus Mechanicus to reproduce technology from the Great Crusade has gradually diminished. Even the Golden Throne, the cornerstone of the Imperium, is proving beyond the ability of the Adeptus Mechanicus to repair and maintain. With the creation of the Great Rift, many worlds of the Mechanicum became stranded within the Dark Imperium. Other worlds were using isolation as a pretext to declare independence. Faced with crisis, the core forge worlds of the Adeptus Mechanicus organized reclamation fleets to re-establish contact with these lost worlds, to remind them of their duty to Mars. Beliefs. Although the Emperor is venerated by the Adeptus Mechanicus for his ancient knowledge and comprehension, the tech priests do not follow the imperial cult, but a wholly different religion, known as the cult Mechanicus or the cult of the machine. The cult Mechanicus originated during the Age of Strife. According to its teachings, knowledge is the supreme manifestation of divinity, and all creatures and artifacts that embody knowledge are holy because of it. Machines that preserve knowledge from ancient times are also holy, and machine intelligences are no less divine than those of flesh and blood. A man's worth is only the sum of his knowledge, his body is simply an organic machine capable of preserving intellect. In the cult's tenets, life itself is of no intrinsic value. One of the most obvious examples of this belief is the tech priest's use of humans as raw material, in the creation of the machine slaves known as servitors. To the cult Mechanicus, machines represent a higher form of life than that created through biological evolution. The ultimate object of the cult's veneration is the machine god, or the Deus Mechanicus, believed to have given rise to all technologies and made them manifest through his chosen Illuminati among mankind. The machine god may be the Caton Void Dragon, who may be the dragon of Mars that has been entombed on Mars for millennia and was worshipped by the cult Mechanicus before the rise of the Emperor. The cult Mechanicus awaits the arrival of the Omnissiah, a prophesied physical avatar of the machine god. During the Great Crusade, the forces of the Emperor liberated many of the forged worlds founded as colonies of Mars in ancient times. On his arrival at many of the worlds, the cult Mechanicus recognized the Emperor as the long-awaited Omnissiah. Thank you for listening to this entry from the Warhammer 40,000 Lexicanum.